Hello all and welcome to another edition of So You're Interested In. This is the show where I listen to music so you don't have to, or at least I sift through all the good and bad in a particular artist or a band or group and tell you where I think you should be starting album-wise and track-wise. Going with our normal format, we'll be talking about 2 LPs that I think you should be listening to and 3 individual tracks that will help you ignite your love for this artist. And this week, if you couldn't tell already by the title of this video, we'll be going over one of the greatest dance punk groups to ever take the stage as we look at LCD Soundsystem. First, a little background on LCD Soundsystem. They were formed and are led by multi-instrumentalist and vocalist James Murphy. Murphy helped to co-found DFA, a record label and production group that has done a ton of work with post-punk, dance punk, and more or less just all dance and rhythm-based music in general. LCD Soundsystem has used many different members of various groups from Hot Chip to Chick Chick Chick, but James Murphy has always stayed their fearless leader. And like I said earlier, LCD Soundsystem mostly focuses on dance punk. Most of their music is extremely beat-heavy and rhythm-based, so you can get up and groove to it. And their music has gone on to inspire many different artists over the years since their humble beginnings. They've also gone from underground hits to being extremely commercially successful. So let's get into 2 albums that I think you should be starting with if you're trying to get into LCD Soundsystem. The first album I think you should be checking out is 2007's Sound of Silver. This is personally one of my favorite records of all time, as, well, LCD Soundsystem has made some of my favorite records ever to begin with, but this one in particular stands out for many reasons. And if you listen to the first track that I'm going to suggest off this album, you'll completely understand why. Someone Great is one of the best tracks that LCD Soundsystem has ever put out, featuring these gorgeous synths and eclectic buzzes and bips and bops that really just tie the whole song together. Lyrically, it is written for Murphy's therapist who unfortunately had passed away. And it talks about, well, in the song's title, someone great. Next up is North American Scum, an awesome, upbeat, get up and dance vibe to it that really tells about the state of partying culture in America. This song ranges from being incredibly truthful to being funny at times too, talking about the different times that bars and clubs close in America versus the clubs that close in Europe. It really talks about how we as a culture, as Americans, really don't appreciate the full lengths that different clubs in Europe and other countries go to really give an incredible experience. And the last song you should be listening to off this album, well, you should be listening to the whole album in general, but the last song we're going to talk about is All My Friends. This song is really all about just starting a party with your friends and the evolution of a couple of people coming over into this entire huge banger of all of these people showing up that you don't even know, but it doesn't matter because everybody's having a good time. It features this amazing piano riff that continues throughout the entirety of the song, and if you were to play it on piano throughout the whole song, I don't think you could do it because it's damn near impossible. All in all, Sound of Silver totally deserves a listen, and it will help ignite your love for LCD Soundsystem. 2010's This Is Happening is another fantastic record that you need to listen to if you want to get into LCD Soundsystem. Kicking off with Dance Yourself Clean, which very well could be one of my favorite, if not my favorite song of the decade. The way that this track builds itself up into finally unleashing into this incredible beat is something that has definitely influenced a number of artists throughout the years since its release. Because once this song finally breaks in its halfway point, it is just an all-out dance-orama. You simply can't help yourself from at the very least tapping your foot to the fullest extent of, well, dancing yourself clean. Drunk Girls is an interesting track to say the least in terms of LCD Soundsystem's discography, as this really focuses much more on a rock-heavy bass. This song doesn't rely on the rhythm-based beat that most of LCD Soundsystem tracks do, but instead it really focuses on the rock guitar behind it and the riffs that it gives. It is equally as danceable and fun and interesting as all the other tracks, but it's definitely a little bit different from all the other tracks that you've probably heard up till this point. And finally, I Can Change is swirled with an 80s dance pop and depressing themes, and while this track is very honest, it doesn't turn into a downer. And that's kind of the best part about LCD Soundsystem. They can make these incredibly thought-provoking songs that, well, you can just forget about the lyrics half the time and still get up and dance, which is a common theme throughout the entirety of the discography. Now let's get into some individual tracks you should be checking out. Starting off with Daft Punk is Playing at My House off of their self-titled debut album. This is easily their most commercially successful song to date, and it follows in Murphy's obsession with the party scene in New York City. It shows the absurdity of the house shows at the time of this recording, and how when you have a party like Daft Punk playing at this guy's house, you get everybody that you know together so you can all rock out and have a good time. Talking about borrowing amps from every person that he can know because Daft Punk is playing at his house. Next up is How Do You Sleep, off of their 2017 release American Dream. This is easily one of their most introspective songs to date. This song relies on a loop drum beat, as Murphy's vocals are mystically overlaid. It creates a very dystopian feeling to the entire track. This track's lyrical content focuses on the deteriorating relationship with Murphy and DFA co-founder Tim Goldsworthy after Goldsworthy just kind of got up and left. And I mean it, he literally got up and left the country and moved to the UK. He did all this without Murphy's knowledge, and this is kind of Murphy expressing his discontent with what he did. This 9-minute song is a mammoth to say the least, and it is definitely the centerpiece of American Dream as a whole. And finally, you should listen to New York I Love You, But You're Bringing Me Down, off of 2007's Sound of Silver. This track, unlike many of the others, is a ballad. This song continually builds on itself, even up until the final minute of the song. It's cathartic for Murphy to talk about the state of New York at the time and all of the things that are happening around him. He is disappointed with New York, as he says that he feels safer and it's wasting his time. He has a love-hate relationship with New York City throughout his discography, and it is constantly talked about throughout more or less every album at the very least. But this song in particular talks about his expression of anger towards where New York is headed. This place that he calls home is rapidly changing, and he doesn't like it. So, that does it for another episode of So You're Interested In. Hopefully, you got some new music recommendations for LCD Soundsystem, and a good solid place to start if you want to get into them. Leave one of your favorite LCD Soundsystem tracks below. Maybe I covered it, maybe I didn't. And give me new suggestions for artists that you would like to see featured on this series. Once again, maybe an artist that you already love so much, or an artist that you're a little timid to get into. Thanks again for watching. Please be sure to tune in for more episodes of this series as well as other series that I do on this channel. And please listen to LCD Soundsystem. You will not regret it. Thanks again. I'll see you later.